Just three ordinary guys trying to understand the crazy world around them. We don't have all the answers, but we've got all the questions. You're listening to Just Add Bourbon with Jimmy, JD, and Brad.
Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Brad Broaddus.
And I'm JD Damon.
We're meeting a little earlier this week. We normally do this on Sunday nights, and our compatriot Brad is going to be out of town this weekend, so we wanted to make sure we got one done before he left town. I think we've got some real good topics, though, guys, to discuss tonight, and so let's just get into it. Brad, I was watching something the other day, and I come across this YouTube video, or it was a tweet, actually what I saw it on, but it was a YouTube video, and it was of this young boy. I believe the name was James Younger. I saw the video, and then I actually read the article, and it turns out that there's this custody fight going on between this young man's father and mother, because the mother is wanting him to start taking essentially hormone blockers, or I guess there's another word for it, right? Puberty blockers?
I think puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones.
So, and this is a 7-year-old child, right?
Right. He's 7 now. I think this started when he was 3.
So the video that I saw, I think he was 3 years old, and the dad was asking him, he said, do you like to wear dresses? And he said, yes. And, you know, what else does mommy do? She paints my fingernails. And that just struck me as, I was like, what is this? Is this real? So I started digging into it a little more. And so there's actually this, this court case that's caught national attention. And you've got a dad trying to stop his ex-wife, who's a doctor apparently, from giving their 7-year-old son hormone replacement. And apparently this kid, the James Younger kid, is a twin. He has a brother. But in that video, he's asking him, do you think you're a girl? And he was like, yes. And he was like, why? Well, mommy tells me I'm a girl. So if that little boy was 3 years old when that started happening, don't you find that odd? JD too. I mean, don't you guys find that strange?
It's more than strange to me. It's disturbing is what it is. I believe in letting people be who they are. I'm all for that. I sincerely am. But I also want them to be who they are and not to be told who they are. Not by an aunt, not by an uncle, not by a grandparent, not by a sibling, and certainly not by a parent.
And that's where I was going to go with it, because I am all for gay rights, transgender rights. I'm all for that stuff, man. You be who you want to be. But I think you have to grow up so that you can mature enough to decide who you are. I mean, a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old hasn't even hit puberty yet. I mean, I remember turning 13, 14 years old, whatever, hitting puberty, and just started loving girls. That child's not even old enough yet to decide. He doesn't even know what he likes yet.
Right. I mean, how many young boys have you seen and they're like, Brad, you like girls, don't you? No, I don't like girls. And, and you're probably right. You're probably 13, 14 years old before you're comfortable saying that you actually are attracted to girls. And so now you want to take this 3-year-old or the 7-year-old and determine if he's transgender or not. I think we might be asking a little bit much of 3-year-olds and 7-year-olds to, take the levity and gravity of these situations and decide right now that they're the different sex.
And I'm wondering where these groups are on this issue. Okay, just like the LGBT community is, from my understanding, is all about choice, right? If you choose a certain lifestyle or choose who you sleep with or what you identify with, is all about choice. Is doing this with starting at 3 years old, is that a choice? I know I've got a 4-year-old. He can't decide what he wants to eat for breakfast in the morning. So we're going to let them make life-altering decisions. And then to me, it's child abuse. And how far does this go? Where's it going to stop? Are we going to let a 5-year-old decide they want to drive a car because they feel like it, or buy alcohol, or buy a weapon. It's absolute insanity.
I mean, do you think, you've got twins. I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to rationalize this, man. I said, because it just makes no sense to me at all. None. Do you think this woman, she had twin boys. Do you think she wanted a boy and a girl, so she's trying to make the one a girl? I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand.
I don't know. But from what I understand it, that's where the influence is coming, is from this mother. And it's like, what do you have to gain out of this? You know what I mean? It's not okay to brainwash your kids. It's just not. Not about their sexuality. In my opinion, not about politics, not about religion. If my kids ever become religious, it's because they found that. It's theirs. And I just don't believe in brainwashing our children. And to me, this is brainwashing. And here's what the Cambridge Dictionary defines brainwashing as: to make people believe only what you want them to believe by continually telling them that it is true and preventing any other information from reaching them. So imagine you're a 3-year-old kid and your mom comes to you, Jimmy Don, and she says, "Jimmy Don, I know you got a pee-pee, but you're a girl." And you say, "No, Mom, I got a pee-pee, I'm a boy." And she goes, "No, Jimmy, you're a girl." And she tells you that. Your mom now, not some stranger down the street, the person that you love more than anybody in this world is telling you over and over that you're a girl. I bet you it wouldn't take you very long before you said, "You know what, you're right, I am a girl."
And the mother actually enrolled the boy in school as a girl under the name Luna.
Luna, that's what I was getting ready to bring up. And asked the dad, wasn't there something to do with the court case? I think the dad lost something the other day. Some kind of, have y'all seen that?
Well, there was actually, and this actually just broke within the last couple hours, that apparently the judge ruled that the father does have a say in whether or not the mother can force the 7-year-old to undergo the gender transition. Now, I don't know what that entails at this point, but again, if they do rule in favor of that, then that's great. But what my concern is that we're even sitting here having this conversation. I mean, how far upside down is reality that we're talking about these things? And the frustrating thing is that it's almost like we are doing a huge social experiment on our children.
Well, you've seen this past week the transgender who won the cyclist that won the race.
And I saw somebody on TV last night. There's a group of people who are like really are upset about this, that they're losing their sport because you've got, and again, if this guy wants to be a woman, that's fine. But he has the physiology of a man.
And he always will. He was born a man.
Change.
Okay. So now imagine this now, guys, okay? You trained your whole life. You grew up cycling. You and your parents did it. You went to all these competitions. You spent thousands of dollars on these bikes, on this training, on traveling expenses. And you turned professional, and you're a female, and you really are dominant. And then you have a new competitor in the field that has always been a male, was born a male, and now this cyclist is absolutely dominating the field. How would you feel? I mean, I would be an absolute wreck if I was these people. I mean, I would be really upset.
And it's the groups that are, and I'm not saying everybody in these groups are supporting these things, but it's the groups that support a lot of the feminism and things that are supporting these things. So if you're raising daughters and you say, okay, we want you to understand that you are equal to men, right? And that you are special as a female and you need to own that, but you are equal to men and you can do whatever men do. But then it's okay, we're going to capitulate to somebody coming in with a penis and beating you on the female's field. It's ridiculous.
That person was born with a different makeup, with a different body, that does different things, guys. I mean, just this is the way life is.
Right, and the thing is, and again, I don't want anybody listening to this to take this the wrong way. there is science, and men's physiology and women's physiology are completely different. And Brad, I'm raising 2 daughters, and I teach them you are as good as anybody. You can do anything that a boy can do. From an intellectual standpoint, it's really what I mean from that. You're just as smart as anybody else, and if you work hard, you can do anything just as well as anybody else. But in a lot of cases, especially when it comes to physical activity, women's physiology, men coming up were the hunters and the gatherers, right? They're, over time, evolution, we talked about that the last episode, JD. Evolution, over time, they would hunt, they would gather. Their physiology changed. They evolved to be stronger, bigger, and faster. Now, there are some crazy female athletes out there. Crazy female athletes.
I'm going to tell you right now, ain't nobody in this room beating up Chris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes.
No, she would wear me out. But you put her in the cage with Chuck Liddell and
or John Jones. Yeah. It's not a fight. It's not even a fight.
It's not a fight. So, and that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, if you want to be a transgender. But there is, I have an issue with transgender athletes competing across, like male transgender athletes competing with women. I mean, I think that's crazy.
Yeah, and it looks to me like they're just doing it because they
can.
Because they want to win, because I'm not seeing much of it on the other side. Right? You're not seeing the females saying, "No, I don't want to do this. I want to go compete with the males. I don't want to play softball. I want to go play college baseball." And I'm not saying that there are not people that could do it, but I think that a lot of these people are taking advantage. And look, I think the big story is that seriously, that you have a group of individuals that are pushing agendas that are going to see how far they can push and how much we are going to take. And at some point, if people don't start standing up for their children and saying, "Look, we love everybody. We're going to treat everybody the same. We are going to accept everybody for who you want to be, but enough is enough. This is going too far."
So about this story we was talking about, with James Younger, the mother is a pediatrician, and she's got 2 older kids and 2 younger kids. But the doctor, or the dad, posted a video on his website. Says, "You're a boy, right?" "No, I'm a girl." "Who told you you're a girl?" "Mommy." The child said, "Ann also put James in dresses. She buys me headbands. She gets me hair clips. She paints my nails." Guys, if that's not brainwashing, I just don't know what it is, Please be very crystal clear on this. I'm very compassionate to transgenders, to gay people. No problem with that. But not 7 years old or 3 years old.
And I think the other side to this is just from the medical standpoint, and I'm by no means a medical expert or a physician or anything, but when you're talking about putting a child on the puberty blocking drugs, look, if an adult wants to do that, then that's, you do you. I don't have a problem with that. But you're doing this with small children. In between 2013 and 2019, the FDA recorded 41,000 adverse events, including 6,379 deaths and over 25,000 serious reactions in patients who took a hormone blocker. So if you're going to do something that's going to have those kind of adverse reactions, you should be of an age to where you are making that choice for yourself. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think you both hit the nail on the head. These groups, especially the transgender community, and probably more so the transgender community, they just want the choice. That's what they're fighting for, is the choice to be who they feel like they are. And I don't have one problem with that. I want to be who I am. They should be able to do that same thing. But JD's right. It's brainwashing. When you're talking about a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old man, and you're telling them they're a girl. Why? I just don't understand why. So let's do something let's talk about a topic that's along the same lines. I saw this week there was a feminine hygiene product where they were trying to get the female symbol removed from the boxes because it could be offensive to the transgender community. Did y'all see that?
Yeah, it was it Always?
Always, that was it, yeah.
And again, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want to with their products, and then it's a free market, and people can decide if they're going to buy it or not. I don't care. I can tell you one thing: I'm not going to buy any more of them, right? but no, seriously, it's whatever. I don't care about that. But it's just the point of, again, how far is this going to go? So I think this argument goes about as far as this: do men have periods?
No.
So then again, why should we even sit and have this discussion? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm old school, but should we market feminine hygiene products to males? I mean, we are seriously living in an upside down world.
We really are. I said it just, that was a story I saw too that just kind of blew my mind a little bit as far as, the transgender cyclist. This James Younger deal. And then you see this, and you're like, really? Is that even an issue? Like, to me, that was my first thought. Is that even an issue that you have to take I didn't even know the female symbol was on.
Well, and there might be somebody winning something on a cycle, but I don't think there's any males on the cycle that they're going to need feminine hygiene products.
I mean, JD, did you know that there was even a female symbol on those products?
I still don't know what the symbol looks like. Like right now, I don't.
I don't either.
This says the Venus symbol, but
maybe
which I have a guess what it looks like. But no, I didn't know. And I think the whole point is, people giving in the political pressure, and trying to, reconcile their beliefs with other people's beliefs. And I just don't understand how you can isolate somebody, which I guess is how it always must be feel. That they're isolating males from buying their pads. But I can tell you, every store I've ever been to, like, buying pads has never been like high on my list, so.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me. It's just bizarre. Like, are they going to start marketing Viagra to females?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know, man.
Now that you brought it up.
I don't know. Brad says it. The only way that it's like we're in an upside down world. It's just, I don't even understand why that's an issue or why they felt like they needed to do it. They're a private company, like you said, Brad. They can do whatever they want. I don't understand why they felt like they had to do it to begin with. Maybe there was some pressure from some groups that, this is, you seem to have that everywhere these days about every issue. The political correctness monitor, I guess, flagged them. I don't know. I said that one just blows my mind too.
I mean, if you could rewind this podcast, right? And we're not talking about going back to the Pilgrims, right? I know a lot of things change over time and people have different ideas and different views. If you heard this podcast 10 years ago and we were having this conversation, you would think this was The Onion, right? You would think this is satire. What in the world are they talking about? Well, we will never come to this. But here we are.
And, it goes back to something I said earlier about, normalizing things. And I talked about how Jerry Springer, I remember being in college and sitting on my bed in the dorm watching Jerry Springer and him prancing out these transgender people. And everybody would just boom and, they thought it was the craziest thing there was. And now to think, we're sitting having this conversation and us three white straight men are saying, you know what? We don't care if people are transgender. And I think that's the right thing. And I'm glad we finally got there. But I think that's where the line needs to be. It don't go back into adolescence.
And here's the thing, though, is this conversation and this push for these certain agendas, it's not for our generation. It's for the next one, and it's for the one after that. Because right now, we're sitting here talking about it, but we've grown up in both worlds.
Yeah.
So we know this sounds crazy. But our kids
don't know anything else.
It's going to seem a little less crazy.
Yep.
And if we don't do something about it and have these conversations now, by the time our kids have kids, it's not going to be crazy anymore. So then where do we go from there?
And here's what I don't understand. If I want to know where the feminist groups are on these issues. Because I don't see them coming to the rescue of these athletes who have paid the price. They're too busy defending the transgender side of things, kind of stepping away from their sisters who have done the things that were asked them. No, it wasn't their fault they weren't born men. And then they didn't transition into being women. They were born women. But I hear a deafening silence from the feminist group.
And I'm with you. To me,
it's a feminine
issue. Not only a feminine issue, but we look from a male standpoint, it doesn't affect me personally, or didn't affect me as a male athlete if my competition wanted to go and compete with females, right? And a lot of times this is made about the males. This, to me, looks like this is a war on women.
This is what a war on women absolutely looks like, guys. I mean, think about all the things. Think about how far, first off, women have come in this country, which is, I think, to be applauded and great. I mean, we have CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, very, very competent women. I mean, say what you want to about Hillary, but she was the first candidate on a major ticket that was a female. That was a great accomplishment for women everywhere. It's great. That, even now we have, I don't know how many female women on the Democratic ticket, with these debates. It's good that they're part of the conversation. What's not good is that men, people who were born men, physically, with the anatomy of a man, are now going into women's sports and robbing them of the success that they should be having and enjoying. The fruits of their labor are not coming because somebody who's just built different is coming over and stealing their joy.
But we're getting to a breaking point here where the contradictions are starting to collide. Because, I think everybody can agree to some point you've seen a war on women and you've seen a war on men with the battles, to go after, how many things do you hear about, well, this or white males or this, and then you've got the stuff with the women, and it's almost just like it is a war just against anything being normal.
I actually want to comment too, JD, just really doesn't have anything to do with the topic, but you posted a meme on Facebook the other night on our Facebook page, and it said not all Mexicans are this, not all black people are this, not all white people are this. I thought that was really strong. I thought that was great, by the way. I just want to say
not all Muslims are this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad. You got something?
No, I was just going to say, because to your point, once we lose any kind of identity on the difference between a male and a female, then how do you get behind women's equality, whether it be with wages or anything else? Because if you change the definition of male and female, then you've kind of got to pick a side, right? Either these things are important or there is no such thing as gender.
And so I want to bring up this story. I'm going to tell this story. It's something that happened to me personally. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail, and I may be completely blackballed for it, but I wanted to talk about this. So I'm in a comedians group, right? Out of Huntington, West Virginia, and I work with some really cool people. A lot of them were young college people, and some of them were even professors at the Marshall University. So the way we do it is we have shows on Wednesday, and you have sign-up on Sundays, and they set the lineup, whatever. So the lineup comes out. Who wants to sign up? The sign-up sheet comes out. So I sign up. I'm like, yeah, me. And all these guys are like, me. Well, one of the women says, all right, ladies, we can have a sausage fest. Let's get some of the women up there, which is cool. Like, you definitely want that, right? You want the diversity. But I thought I was in a comedians group. And so, me, I'm going to crack a joke, right? And I put a meme or a GIF on there that said, haters going to hate. And it was a dude, like a white guy, just kind of shaking his head back and forth. And I pissed people off with that. And I got a message, so I went underground the next day, Monday, And I came out and I had a 3-paragraph message sent to me. Let me guess, you're a white straight male. It's never okay for this to be an all-white male comedy show. This, that, and the other. And I was like, y'all need to chill. I thought we was trying to be funny in this group a little bit. Like, you know, I didn't know that comedians could be so thin-skinned. I thought that was for everybody else. I guess I was a little bit naive in that. But she thought because I was a white straight male that I had some agenda, you know, that I was trying to degrade women or something. And it was just a weird, because what's weird is knowing how liberal I am, but she don't know me at all. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, the way I look. I obviously don't look like some snowflake, you know, or what you consider, or I don't look like some college kid who's, you know, a tech genius. You know, I look like a blue-collared Eastern Kentuckian, you know, because that's what I am. It was weird to have that prejudice put toward me. I felt like I was judged. And knowing that, and anybody who knew me know that I didn't have any hidden agenda in what I posted. You know what I'm saying? And so it was weird to get that feedback or pushback from a feminist. And somebody who, she was like, oh, we got people who were gay in this group and people who were non-binary. And I was like, I don't even care. Like, I was just trying to be funny.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You know, like politically correctness or political correctness, that's another thing that kind of wears me out is everything has to be so politically correct. Are you kidding me? Yeah. We can't joke with each other. And that's clearly what you were doing. I mean, like you said, she doesn't know you. I don't know, that's just silly in my opinion. But that is something as far as you see that everywhere is political correctness.
And I think it's actually it's starting to do the opposite. You know, even in the workforce. I mean, I believe if you have 10 males and 10 females and 10 black people and 10 Hispanics and 10 Asian people and whatever, and they're applying for 10 jobs, you know who I think should get those jobs?
People most qualified.
Whoever's the most qualified for those jobs. If it's all the black people or all the Asian people or all the white people, and we've got to a point to where we're trying to make things so fair that we're making them unfair. And most of the people that complain the most about the race issues are the first people that will come and want to say, okay, well, how many black friends do you have? I'm sitting there thinking, well, I've never thought of it that way. I choose not to segregate my friends. So who's the racist in the conversation? You know, it drives me crazy.
Well, it's almost unfair. I mean, to ask me how many black friends I have, when's the last time you've seen a black person?
In Martin County?
I mean, no, seriously. I don't know. I've probably not seen a black person in 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, but, you know, I grew up in a little more diverse community. And, you know, I've got tons of guys that I grew up with. And there's a lot of stories that I've told you about friends of mine. But have you ever heard me one time say, hey, well, let me tell you about my Asian friend. Or let me tell you about this time I went here with my black friends. You know what I call them?
Friends.
They're my friends. I mean, you know, and that's the way I see it. So anybody that tries to put these people into some kind of box, I think you need to turn the mirror around and ask who is really
playing identity politics.
Right.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I said, because people do anymore. If you watch any mainstream media news organization, I don't care if it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, I don't care what it is. You watch them, they're trying to split people up by group.
Oh, for sure. And somebody, who got in trouble for that this week? Because they didn't have an Asian person in their commercial or something. It was like Kodak or somebody, like a big company, got a bunch of kickback because they didn't have this group represented in one of their commercials. It's like, and I don't know how familiar you are with this guy, but I really am a big fan of his. But he makes a lot of sense to me, a lot of common sense, and he's more of a right-wing guy than I am, obviously. But Jordan Peterson, I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of this stuff, but he talks about equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. And it talks about, you know, that's what I thought about when Brad was speaking about, you know, the 10 most qualified people should get the job. Because what you want to do is create equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. because equality of outcome should be based on your individual abilities, not on what socioeconomic, gender identity, or whatever. Shouldn't have anything to do with any of those things.
No, it's well said, because you're right. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a certain outcome, and that's not really what it should be. I think of the Rooney Rule in the NFL is, and I actually agree with the Rooney Rule, because it gives black coaches at least an opportunity to get a head coaching job, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have to hire them because they're black. You hire them because they're the best head coach, but they got the opportunity. It's about creating opportunity.
I think one of the great things about the Rooney Rule, what was his name? Lovie Smith. He ended up getting some head coaching jobs, not because he interviewed well where he got the jobs at, but because he interviewed so well for some of the jobs he didn't get. The GMs would call the other franchises like, hey, we got our guy, but you really need to get this guy in and interview him. And he ended up getting some jobs because he got the opportunity, to interview at another organization. And it is a good rule. Guys, I think, and I think this is a great thing about America, and you're going to see my liberal side come out here a little bit, but I think diversity is a strength that we have. It's not a weakness that we have. It's good to have diversity.
I agree with that, and I'm considered a conservative. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
It's great to have diversity, man.
Especially in the workforce. You think about someplace like a coal mine, and if you go in, and this is how we've always done it, we're going to do it this way. Well, you get somebody that's come from a different background than you, somebody that grew up in a different culture than you. We had this similar problem, but here's how we approached it. And man, you could be amazed at what you can learn from somebody that grew up differently than you. Guys, I can't work on vehicles. I didn't grow up doing that. But there's a lot of people who did. They grew up in a different environment I did. That diversity is good,
No, I agree with that 100%.
Well,
I don't think that's liberal at all, man. Or it shouldn't be.
Right. I always thought that was a liberal
No,
thing.
it shouldn't be. Because I think I agree.
Yeah.
We all can do something different. I can barely change a light bulb.
Right.
But I can rock through some numbers with the quickness. I mean, I understand how to do that. So there's a place for me.
Right.
And there's a place for everybody, and you just figure out, and that's what's great about America to me is if you're willing to work, you can make it. You can. If you will go out and cut grass, dude, there's people around here that make a good living, cutting grass.
Absolutely.
Ain't a thing in this world wrong with that. They're just willing to get out and hustle and work. That's the great thing about America. And I agree with what, like I was saying with the Rooney Rule, is I do believe, our country historically, there have been people who have been pushed away because of their ethnicity or the color of their skin. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these rules in the fight is to give them that opportunity. But it's whoever's the most qualified, like you guys said, who should get the job. That conversation went about 20 different ways, didn't it? We got to the Rooney Rule.
I don't even remember where we started now.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we started changing younger.
Yeah. So I do want to get a couple other things in, though.
Okay.
So, and I started to do this last podcast when I was doing the Week of the Weird. There was a story came out about this Democratic Congresswoman from California.
Of course.
Named Katie Hill. And I'm sitting at the campground, our annual family camping trip, and I get a text from Brad. And it's a picture of this woman sitting there, and she's nude. You can't see anything, but you can clearly tell that she's nude.
At least bare-chested.
Yeah, bare-chested. And she's brushing the hair of a younger woman. It turns out this younger woman was one of her staffers. And from there, it has exploded this week. I just read something that there was a picture came out of her with a bong and a tattoo. Did you all see that?
No, I've not seen that one.
No, but let me jump on this real quick.
JD's scrambling to the computer.
Yeah. But
is that with an E or without an E?
But that's like been this crazy scandal, right? It started out as, and when I first read it, I thought, well, these politicians, they, and really people in power do this kind of thing, affairs and different things, and their staffers, that's who's available, whatever. But this thing has taken a whole other turn, hasn't it?
Yeah, she's a congresswoman. She's actually vice chair of the Oversight Committee. And she had an affair. At first I thought was with a staffer, which was the younger staffer, the female that was in the picture, I assume. And apparently there was a kind of a threesome situation with her and her husband and that staffer. But then now it sounds like there was affairs with other staffers. And
I wonder if she's taking applications. I'm sorry.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
You kind of tossed that one out, man.
And, you know, as far as, again, and I know I'll harp on this and I'll say it a million more times, I don't care who sleeps with who and what, it makes no difference to me. And even with the picture getting released, who released the photo? Like, it sounds to me like it might be revenge porn, like maybe her ex-husband or somebody.
Hold on. I got breaking news right now. Are you ready?
Really?
Let's hear it.
I can't see anything. I swear I forgot my glasses. All right. It says, this is in the New York Post. It said, naked photos of Hill have also turned up online under a thread called, Would You F My Wife?
Would you F my wife.com?
So that kind of goes along with what you were saying. Is this like revenge porn? Maybe it's her ex-husband that's putting all this stuff out there.
It sounds like it could be, and I am completely against that. And again, I don't care who sleeps with who. I'm completely against destroying people for what they do in their bedrooms. Here's where it becomes an issue with this particular position. Is it's a violation of the California employment law guidance, you know, which says you may not engage in a sexual relationship with any employee of the house who works under the supervision of the member. And it also violates house rules. So you're talking about somebody that has got, obviously, has access to some privy information. Would you all think it's fair to say that she could be easily blackmailed?
Oh, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And it says here that she, you know, released a statement. She said, just to be fair to her, since we're making fun of her, she says, the fact is I'm going through a divorce from an abusive husband who seems determined to try and humiliate me. So I guess that's her story on why all that's going down.
Now, Katie, if you're listening, I'm not making fun of you at all.
JD's looking for a job.
Yes.
JD's over here Googling LinkedIn.com or something, trying to fill out an application.
No, but I said that is actually the point that I guess kind of comes to my mind, and especially with these high-powered, you know, government officials, because they really do have some sensitive information. And I'd read a little bit about this lady, and it sounds like she really, you know, likes being a congresswoman, and she feels her work's important, and she's really into it. But you're messing around with people who may not have that same agenda, who could easily blackmail you. And I think that has happened a lot. With a lot of the politicians, I think that's how the hierarchy controls the pieces.
One of the things I learned as a young man, even just being a young boy, though, you know, in high school, is I heard people say, and I don't know why they were telling me this, or if I picked it up on a television show or whatever, but you don't ever have an affair with somebody who has less to lose than you. Like, if you're married, you don't have an affair with somebody who's not married, right? So if you're a congresswoman or a congressman, and you're just married to some private citizen, who do you think has more to lose? So why would you... the whole point is, you feel like your leaders would be smarter than that, than put themselves in a position like that. Especially somebody who takes her career and her job so seriously.
Yeah, if you're going to screw up, screw up. Don't ever screw down.
I like it.
All right, so I wanted to throw that out there. I should have thrown that in last week with our Week of the Weird when we were doing that in the last podcast, because that is just a strange story. There was a topic, JD, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about, which was, and you're going to have to help me with the name here, the guy that testified this week. And I thought we would touch on that real quick, because we hit Trump pretty hard. So, what was the guy's name, Brad? The guy that testified?
Was it Taylor?
William Taylor.
William Taylor. And he basically got released. A transcript of his opening statement got released.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of led you, because I think you texted it to me and said, hey, check this out. This could be some quid pro quo here. And I think we'll be able to get into this particular topic a little deeper in some future episodes because I think there's going to be some other things come out. But it was the first time I actually saw anything in print that I thought, maybe there was some quid pro quo.
Right.
But then I also read that he didn't actually have any first-hand information. It's like the whistleblowers who have seemed to disappear, that it was all third and fourth-hand information. And then the guy that he says that he heard a lot of this stuff from, when he testified last week, actually contradicted a lot of the testimony. And it turns out, what I read about this guy is he was really heavily involved with Ukraine.
But this was the special ambassador to Ukraine. Now, I don't know. The article I'm reading here, his statement is that he was actually in the midst of all the things that were going on in Ukraine. Basically, what he said was not first or second-hand information. Just he said he was the right channel to go through to get things done in the Ukraine. He was supposed to be in the ambassador. That's what ambassadors do, right?
And they were going around him.
And he says that Giuliani was the unofficial channel trying to get things done.
But was this guy was not, I thought he was the ambassador from 2006 through 2009.
No, this guy was ambassador when Zelensky just got elected president. He was there. That was who he was.
I think I did read that he had been asked to be ambassador.
He was
couldn't get through the
he was in a different
confirmation.
position. He was ambassador through 2009.
So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I think for the people listening, we try to do that sometimes, drop a few Easter eggs about some things that we think are going to play out in the next few weeks in the media. And I think we'll end up getting to have a much, much deeper discussion about this gentleman and maybe his role in future weeks. Jay, do you got anything else you want to comment on that?
Well, the one thing was that he was the ambassador in 2006, 2009, but he was asked to go back by the Trump administration. And
And I think he hadn't been confirmed yet. Maybe that's why he had a different title.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Sure, something along that line.
His point was he wanted to make sure that Ukraine was going to get the proper support if we went over there. So he was kind of reluctant to even take the position back. And so that's all.
So they're kind of in a... So what they got going on right now is they're having these meetings and they're talking to these people behind closed doors, and they're only letting one side listen to it, and certain part of the information's getting out and some of it's not. So I'm ready to let it all out. Let's hear it. Let's see what's going on, and then. But I think we're getting closer to that happening, and I'd say there'll be a lot of good discussion here in the next couple of weeks.
And I agree with you. I think the problem with that is, and you know I'm all about open democracy and putting things out. Let's put our chips on the table. The problem is, with this sort of inquiry, if you let everybody go in there, I think the guy's name was Nunez, was going there at the beginning. He was listening to these things, and he was running back and telling the administration. The administration come out, release a statement, try to stay ahead of it. And so they couldn't do a real inquiry and really find out what was going on because this guy was leaking the information.
But this has never happened in the past with any of these. It's doing away with due process. So you're having secret meetings that you're not letting both sides listen to. So, for instance, if you get a speeding ticket, you have a right to face your accusers and you get to defend yourself. But in this case, you don't. They're having secret inquiries behind closed doors with second and third hand information, which doesn't even hold up in a normal court. But you're doing this in an instance to where you're trying to impeach a president on second, third hand information. So again, I'm all for letting everything out, but let's air it loud. Let's see what's going on, and we'll go from there. And like I said, we'll have a lot to talk about here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so the next topic, JD's brought this up a couple of times, and then Brad said he had a differing opinion. So I thought this might be kind of fun to talk about. And really, it kind of came to mind because Edward Snowden was on Joe Rogan this week.
Yeah.
Now, I have not got to listen to that podcast yet, so I don't know anything about that. But JD has said in the past that he felt like Edward Snowden was a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Brad has counterpointed that and said he doesn't think so. So I thought, okay, that could be interesting to hear a counterpoint on Edward Snowden.
Right.
So you want to start?
The reason I think that he is a hero is because he was working with the NSA and the CIA. He was the guy who, when they wanted to bring these programs together and share information because the Patriot Act now allowed them to, now they could circumvent judges and they could go over whoever they want to. And the Patriot Act was all about what? Finding terrorists, homegrown terrorists to be exact. Now, Snowden was the guy, like I said, he worked for the NSA, so he learned their systems, from the technological side. Ended up working for the CIA and going overseas for them when working. And so what he did was allow the NSA programs and the CIA programs to share their information together. And he's also the guy who let us know that if they wanted to pin something on you, they could do it. And I know President Obama was not a fan of Edward Snowden, but I'm interested in hearing what Brad has to say about Edward Snowden.
And I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here because I agree with you on, I'm all for whistleblowers. And the particular information that he put out is something that I'm glad was out and I'm glad everybody knows. So this is not about the message itself. I just have it hasn't passed the sniff test for me just because I followed a number of whistleblowers over the last 10 or 15 years. And none of them have had such a platform and such an easy route to get information out. Okay, so you ask, well, who would this benefit? Now, the NSA and the CIA, there's kind of a pissing contest between, who's king, right? So you've had the CIA, which you don't have to listen to too many of our shows to understand how I feel about who has kind of run the show forever. Well, the NSA, because of the amount of data that they have been able to collect over the last number of years, and again, I'm glad that stuff got out, but has actually given the CIA competition. So if Snowden comes in, okay, and the story is, from the way I understand it, is that he's because he wasn't actually an NSA employee, he was a contractor,
Yeah, that's
right, for, was it Booz Allen? So he comes in and gets all this information on a thumb drive. Now, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but most things are so compartmentalized in these places that I don't think it's like one of these movies that you're watching on TV where somebody comes in and they sneak in an office when somebody goes to the bathroom and they start downloading all this information on a thumb drive, right? Maybe he got it all. We'll find out in the future. It just seemed to me almost like he was given the information to put out to kind of chop the legs off the NSA. And again, I think they've both done shady stuff. That's not where I'm going for this. So here was the other part to me that was extremely strange, is he gets all this information. So he gets this huge trove of classified U.S. intelligence. And where does he go with it? Where's the first place he goes for safe harbor?
Russia.
China.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
So he makes it to China, has no problem getting into China. And then he goes from China to Russia. So we've been hearing Russia for 3 years. And then obviously we've got a lot going on with China. You've got all these spies, all these people getting busted up as, with espionage with China. So this guy just happens to get on a thumb drive all of this information. All of this classified intelligence. And then he goes to China, and then he goes to Russia, and then he gets on any platform he wants to get on. And then they make a big movie about him. So you go back through the other whistleblowers, and who has been able to take that route and have that access. Again, I'm glad the information got out. My question's not with the information. It just seems fishy how we went from point A to point B to point C.
So I'm going to talk real quick about a little bit of this information because it's about Operation Stellar Wind. Okay? And now what Stellar Wind did was, like I said earlier, allow the NSA or the CIA or any of these intelligence agencies to circumvent going to a judge to sign a subpoena to gather your information. So here's my point. Let's say you're a terrorist, or you're a suspected terrorist, Jimmy, okay? And I'm a special agent for the CIA. And I go to this judge and I say, you know what? I think Jimmy Don is a homegrown terrorist. I need to check out his computer records. I need to find out what he's Googling, because just so you know, those things never go away. They can always pull those things up, always. And I need to find out what Jimmy's doing online. Name me a judge anywhere in the United States of America that would turn you away if you were me, and I want to find out something about you. Not going to happen, right? So I think Operation Stellar Wind is all about finding out what people's interests are and using that to help run campaigns. What's important to these people in Texas? What's important to these people in Iowa? What's important to the people in Kentucky? What's the Google searches? What's the history? And I'm going to go back to this before, again, we talked about the great hack on here, one of our first episodes. Giving up our privacy. It's not okay for these government agencies to run rugged through our data without us giving them permission. It's not okay for them to look through our search records without going through the proper channels. And that's why I think Edward Snowden is a hero, because he's letting us know the government was still doing that to us, even after they were not supposed to be doing that anymore. I'm done with
Again,
that.
I'm with you on the information.
Yeah.
It's just the carrier of the information. That part of it is just shady to me.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. I want to know all that stuff. And I would say in 13 episodes, that's something we agree on more than anything is the information that they have, what the intelligence agencies have, and what they're using. Because this goes full circle back to episode 1. When you go into Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, CIA, NSA, you can go through every single thing. So we're living in a different time now to where you have these entities. Like we used to think of power as being in countries. It was China, it was Russia, it was the USA. Well, now you have these social media sites, these government agencies that are their own countries as far as power.
Oh, yeah, you'll not get no quarrel from me on that point.
Well, I just found that very interesting, because I know nothing about Edward Snowden outside. I don't have an opinion, I should say. I watched the movie. It was okay, But, guys, we're running short on time here. Any other topics we want to bring up?
No, just, the response to the interview and stuff.
Oh, yeah. As far as, so let's do that first. We've had a great response to both of the opioid episodes that we've released, and we will continue to do some interviews and continue that series. The episode that we did with Matt and Summer by far was our biggest download in a single day. Getting some great response on that, getting some great response on the one that we did. Couldn't be happier, because I really believe, I listened to that episode again this morning actually on my way to work. And if you're an addict or a family member of an addict, I mean, really just anybody could listen to that and really just take something very, very positive away from it. I just thought that was great. I really thought Summer's testimony about what happened as far as watching Matt go through that and dealing with it, I thought it was very good. I just thought overall it was a great episode. And if Matt and Summer are listening, we thank you again for sitting down with us, because that was really good. So just a little bit of housekeeping business.
I just want to share one thing that Matt sent to me in the messenger. I don't think he would mind me sharing this. And I think I haven't even shared this with you guys. But it's one of the reasons that we want to do this. We want to have an impact on people's lives, and in our community. Well, one of the things Matt said was it was impactful for us to get to do it. I wonder how many times they've got to sit down and tell their story together. And for somebody like that to say it was impactful for them, is, I think, a big kudos to us. Job well done, guys.
Well,
and I hope we can make a bigger impact going forward.
Well, and I think, when we started this, I know you kind of have pie in the sky ideas, and I didn't really have any, as far as success is concerned, I didn't really have any expectations for it. But I thought if we can do anything, maybe we can have a positive impact on our community. And I think that the three of us, because that means that has touched everybody in our area, the opioid epidemic. And I think if we can do some good just by letting people sit down and talk about it, or maybe somebody hears it that will go to addiction recovery care and get clean. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't ask for any more from this, really.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And, we have these shows just like tonight. We sit and we obviously talk about some controversial topics. And, we don't claim to be experts on any of this stuff. We're just sitting around and talking, and we're trying to have conversations and talk about the things that people are thinking, but they might not feel comfortable in having a conversation about. So we want to talk around those things. But this was something that it's affected our community so much. This isn't something that's just going through the news cycle for 1 week and it's going to go away. We've seen it for the last 20 years. And unless something drastic's done about it now, we're going to see it for the next 50. So we thought it was important to get outside of our little simple minds here and actually bring in some experts, have some interviews, and make a series out of this. So I hope you are enjoying listening.
Yeah, so we normally finish the show off by doing our college football picks, but as I said when we started, Brad actually has to be out of town this weekend, so we wanted to go ahead and do the show while he was still here. What we'll do this week, instead of actually doing the picks on the show, is JD will post our picks on Sunday evening. I should be back in the lead by then.
Who is in the lead right now? I can't remember.
JD is. I mean, the guy has good initials. I'll give him that. But JD will post those so that we can kind of keep up with that, because that's been a whole lot of fun. Or I've had a ball doing it. I don't know. I think it's fun.
I don't think Brad's like
I was having a blast until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Bringing up the rear. It's okay, Big Daddy.
Somebody's got to be last, boys.
Yeah, somebody has to be last.
I'm third.
You're third?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We don't want to hurt your feelings. All right. So, guys, I guess we'll finish this one up. As always, check us out on Podbean, on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Go to YouTube and subscribe. That will help us out in a big way. If you listen to Matt and Summer's episode, share it for us on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever social media platform you use. I think it's something we really need to get out there. I think it's that discussion. So, from myself, from JD, from Brad, we appreciate you listening. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast. See you next week.